Hello and welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are ready for this next installment of a kaiju analysis video for the Lizard King Productions universe. So sit back and enjoy, and I will see you at the end of this video.
The backstory. In the year 1940, an expedition team was sent to Isla Calaverac to try and conduct more studies on the flora and fauna of the recently discovered island. To the shock of the team, the island was much smaller than what was previously described in the papers that were written 7 years ago. The native section of the island was reduced to just a quarter of what it originally was when first discovered back in 1933. Upon inquiry, it was understood that the island has been sinking into the sea with every passing year. The scientific team was astounded and perplexed upon the notion that the single most amazing scientific discovery of the age is quickly being lost due to natural occurrences. Something had to be done, but there was no way to save the island from sinking further into the sea. However, what if they could save as many animals and flora from this fate and move them to another uninhabitable island to preserve what is left of this great scientific discovery? Sort of like Noah and the Ark of the Bible. It was agreed upon that will be the course of action. The team knew they needed to have fleets of ships and crew to begin such an undertaking. The first thing the team did was save what was left of the natives who lived on the island. After a few months, with the help of the natives, an island was found that would suit, not just the natives, but the few species that would be saved from their original island that was sinking. The natives called their new island home, Mondo. Over the next few months the natives worked, with the help of the world's governments, build a new village that would be far more protected from the creatures that lived alongside them on Isla Calaverac. As this was taking place, several fleets of cargo ships were set sail for Calaverac to trap, sedate, and transport a variety of megafauna and other forms of life to Mondo Island. The teams aboard these ships were also tasked to salvage what flora they could that were of food for not just the fauna but also what the tribe's people ate in their diets so that they could be transplanted onto Mondo. The plan was a success. Several years have passed and the animals took to their new home along with the introduced flora as well. However, the Venatopolorognathus started to grow more numerous than expected. It was hypothesized that this was due to there not being a species to keep their numbers in check. On their original island the only living Peleropithecus, who the natives called Kong, was the only one keeping the giant meat-eaters in check. But due to him being taken from his island and put on display. However, he ended up having to be put down when he escaped captivity. Without a moderator for the Venatopolorognathus, they were allowed to multiply unchecked. They were beginning to wipe out the other species that were also brought to Mondo Island. Things seemed bleak for the inhabitants of the island. But several months pass and the scientists who check on the flora and fauna of the island were finding dead Venatopolorognathus in certain areas on the island. This was an odd sight to see when they are the undisputed top predators on the island. It was discovered the species were fighting amongst themselves for territory and for hunting grounds. A behavior that was never documented in the early studies of these creatures. As time went on, it was made very apparent that there was a larger, more dominant Venatopolorognathus. Large footprints were being discovered on the northern part of the island. These footprints were measuring to be 2 feet longer and 1.5 feet wider than a normal Venatopolorognathus track. An investigation was in order to locate the larger specimen and find where it has been hiding. Sure enough, a cavern on the far northern part of the island was found with bones scattered throughout the area. The beast was not in the cavern, believed to be out patrolling its territory. A small group went inside while the security detail stood outside to keep watch. The team that went inside quickly ran back out due to the readings of spiking radiation. It was discovered that a natural element known as Mineral X was on the island of Mondo. It was theorized that this was the reason for this specimen growing larger and far more aggressive. It was agreed upon that this specimen needed to be captured and studied to find a way to either help the animal recover from its long exposure to the natural radiation it unknowingly took residence with, or put the poor animal down because it is too late for this creature. However, all manner of ways to try and capture the animal failed. Either the teams never returned or one person would return badly wounded and would later end up succumbing to their injuries. It was seeming to be a lost cause to try and apprehend the dangerous animal. Though, after a few weeks the animal was not seen or heard of. Weeks turned into months and it was thought that the poor creature succumbed to the radiation poisoning and died within its cavernous home. For a time things seemed to be returning to normal on the island, however the scientific team was noticing that certain forms of life were growing to sizes not seen before in history. Several months had gone by and the small facility that was built alongside the natives' village was in full swing. The team decided to call their mysterious Venatopleorognathus Gorosaurus, due to how violent and bloodthirsty it was. But they had no fear of the animal due to it being presumed that it was no longer among the living. That was until the ground started shaking. The fauna on the island were nervous and tried to find shelter. The tremors were coming from the northern part of Mondo Island, where the large specimen used to reside. The cavern that the giant beast was thought to have died in erupted with rock and dirt, and a massive monstrous head burst forth from out of the clouds of dirt. The anatomy. Gorosaurus has not changed too much, physically, from its previous body plan. Only it has increased in size and has a terrible temperament. Because this dinosaur was mutated by natural radiation, it only underwent a few changes that can be seen on the outside. First is its head. The Venatopleorognathus species are known for their large skulls and powerful jaws. Gorosaurus mutated with a much larger skull and an even more powerful bite. Its jaw strength even surpasses Gojira's bite force. This is thanks to the radioactively charged muscles in its jaws. As you can see, Gorosaurus also has the same symptoms as its fellow kaiju. It is not immune to the effects the natural radiation has inflicted upon itself. It too bleeds from the eyes, nose, ears, and has splitting, bleeding lips around its mouth. However, it appears that its condition is similar to Rowden's. Looking at Gorosaurus's mouth, his canine-like tusks have also extended out of its skull more than what is normally seen in other Venatopleorognathus. Looking at the rest of this mega carnivore, the other astounding adaptation that was forced by the atomic mutation on this creature's body, is that it has a long massive tail. The muscle that eyed with this creature's tail is so great that it forces Gorosaurus to have to adopt an upright posture. This also means that this dinosaur must drag its hulking tail along the ground. Looking closer at its scales, they are not that much different from the rest of the Venatopleorognathus species, though it appears to be more jagged and much thicker to protect it from shell fire or other kaiju. Looking at Gorosaurus's legs and feet, its legs are supercharged and hulking. This is to help support the rest of this massive dinosaur's bulk and keep it upright. What is interesting to note is that Gorosaurus has kept its scythe-like dew claws and the middle toe has elongated more than its other two toes. Its feet has also enlarged to also help with keeping its balance and support. However, there is part of its calcaneus that has erupted out the back of its feet. Unlike its fellow kaiju, Gorosaurus has no charred scales, or mineral-infused skin, or even a deepening of color. It has retained his natural skill color, though, as previously mentioned, its scales and skin are tougher than what a Venatopleorognathus protective scales are. Its atomic power. Gorosaurus has no atomic breath or superatomic roars. This kaiju does, however, share one attribute with Rodan. Similar to how Rodan has atomically changed muscles to help it flew, Gorosaurus has his atomic muscles that are in its jaws, legs, and tail. One ability that showcases this rather well is what has been called the kangaroo kick. This was displayed when a three-headed extraterrestrial kaiju descended from space that the Earth's monsters fought against. Gorosaurus reared up on its muscular tail and within a moment kicked the space beast in its back, breaking its spine in the process. Witnessing this, it reminded the scientists of how a kangaroo attacks/defends itself, thus the name given to this attack. Gorosaurus's jaws, as stated before, are able to produce a biting force so strong that it can crunch through the protective armor of other kaiju. This is backed by the tremendous amount of muscle that has been supercharged by the radiation it absorbed while trapped within the cavern it once lived. Many of the Earth's monsters know to leave this kaiju well enough alone. The end of a monster. After the fight with the space dragon, the Earth's monsters went their separate ways. As for Gorosaurus, it headed back home to Mondo Island. The world's governments were notified and did not want the other species on the island to be wiped out by this mega carnivore. So several fleets of naval battleships and fighter jets were scrambled to intercept the giant beast. The plan was to get Gorosaurus to pursue the ships and jets to a different island. It seemed to work. The massive dinosaur made chase and followed the fleet to a large uninhabited island in the Pacific. Gorosaurus made landfall. Upon its arrival, the massive creature pushed through the trees and stumbled upon an immense cavern. The beast wearily ambled into the cave and collapsed in exhaustion from the long pursuit of the naval fleet. It was decided that this island would also house the other world's monsters so that it would be easier to monitor them. Thus Monster Island was born.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video. If you liked this content, would you consider giving this video a like? It helps with the algorithm. Also, would you consider subscribing to the channel? The more subscribers, the more it helps this channel grow. Oh! And don't forget to turn on the notification bell if you want to be up to date on everything I post. And lastly, if you did like this video, consider sharing this video with your friends. They may just like the video you just watched as well. This is KT and I'll see you in the next video.